there, but I don't know what it is. But you've got a feel about it, an intuition that sort of does something. When this starts to open up, the information contained in the event, or in the archetype, starts to become mindful. And you take a thing called knowledge when this happens. Make sense? Can you all see the tree? You guys aren't that familiar with the tree? No. I am.
Can I just ask before you move on?
Yes.
When you were talking about the 7 centres, I got a bit lost with the second from like above the base. What was that?
That's the sacrum.
Yeah.
It's the element of water, but it's the instinctual mind. They call it manas.
Instinctual mind, that's what I missed. Thanks.
No, I haven't visited you yet.
Oh, I'm confused.
There's the central path. These are the 2 serpents. The
What's this called? Like, what's the actual diagram?
The tree of life.
Yeah.
Here, which is not in this diagram, is a hidden sphere.
Sorry, Paul, the 2 serpents?
Oh, well, here we go. They've sort of wiggle their way through there with a bit of imagination.
Yeah.
This hidden sphere, Darth, which is not on this one. Darth means knowledge. And it's a portal between the wings on the caduceus, and the serpents and stuff below. The tree of life is a crucible. This is where your feet are, and that's above your head. So you're in this crucible, so to speak. Here, where this knowledge is the sphere called Darth, which is here. Now, Darth is not a place to be played at in an occult sense. It's where, you heard the thing called the beast that's in Revelation 666 and all that? That's where the guy lives there.
The devil.
We call it Coronzon Cigar, is the full name. And he's a guardian between the supernal and the rest of the worlds. These are pretty high worlds, that's the kingdom. But he's the guardian. And the whole concept of 666 is a formula for getting through there. Christ was nailed by, you know how many nails?
3.
Yeah. 3. Now in Kabbalah, each letter has a number and an archetype. The letter Vor has the archetype of a nail, and it's the number 6. And there's a, I won't at this point go into all of it because it gets confusing. But anyway, this Coronzon Sigal is demon. Coronzon has the value of 333, and Sigal has 333. So you get 2 halves. The 2 names have the value of 330. Get the idea? So we get these 2 halves. One name is 333, and the other name is 333. Now I've just given you a key. Now this demon will send you nuts. If there's any attachment to your ego at all, it will just be so painful, so much suffering. And this whole energy keeps so much of the shit going down in the world is because of this sphere here and how this activity plays out through humanity. But the key's there, these 2 names that comes to 666. There's a key of how to get through, and you've already been given it. You see? The salt. The salt, that's the symbol of salt. So perfecting the alchemic salt in our being, we're freeing ourselves from all that stuff, and we can ascend. Does that make sense? Now in alchemy, when the salt is added to the sulfur and the mercury, the medicine is spiritualized. Get the idea? So by preparing our salt, we can get through Darth without the drama. And I can assure you it's no fun. Any attachment that you have will be exploited 10,000-fold. It's like when the sexual energy hits one of those insecurities, how big it is, times that by, infinitum, and that's what you're dealing with. So as we're preparing the salt, which takes lifetime, you never stop doing the work, as we're preparing the salt, we're actually spiritualising our being. And all the shit that goes on up there, we start to not so much avoid, but it's really not that big an issue. We start to see through it. And organically, we're on our way.
What is it, once you purify and you're getting to that point of Darth in your consciousness, there's less to trigger? Is that?
Yeah. There's not the energy in the stuff.
Mm.
You've become wise from the creation of the salt, and from that process of becoming wise, you know from within yourself what's going on. You've worked out your own stone. You know that if I play this one, that's the result. If I've got a pattern here and it's running, that's what's running. That's pretty simple in theory, isn't it? In theory, activity is a lot of work, but in theory, if we understand the theory, we can start to apply it. Now what we've done with this here is this is an 8, and this contains the 7 centres. So we've got 7 and 8. That's the 7th sphere, and that's the 8th sphere. So there's something for us here.
Paul, when you say this is an 8, you mean because the snakes
Figure
look
eight.
like that they look like a snake?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Christos meditation, just as the simple part of the Christos meditation, is the 7 and the 8, as we circulate the energy through the 7 centres in a figure 8. So the foundation of this process is within the archetypal structure of the meditation. So what's happening you're actually meditating on this formula. I've tricked you all. You're meditating on this formula. So the process starts to happen. This is kind of like your intellect, and this is like your feelings. This is theory, and this is practice. So if you put theory to practice, you might get something else. 8 and 7 are 15. And what's 15?
6.
Tapara, this is the self. You've seen Christ on the cross with a yellow thing, INRI on his head. You seen that image?
Oh yeah.
They assume, some say it's, was it Jesus, King of the Jews or something?
Oh yeah.
Alchemists, it's, I can't remember the Latin words, but it's...
Igne, Natura,
Yeah.
Renovato, Iota.
Yeah, fire regenerates nature, regenerates all the fire. And we're dealing with the fire, the flame. And alchemy does this process of burning of the salt with the fire, and we're renewed by it. The phoenix is renewed from its own ashes. That's the alchemic salt. And this is what we're dealing with. So if we put theory to practice, we've got to know for ourselves. This is the self. So we know for ourselves. We know. And every time you take theory and put it to practice, it's kind of like distilling. You know a little more. And as I said, it turns into a stone. And voila, you become wise.